welcome to Backfocus. I'm Matthew Tucker. Backfocus is the public relations program of Pittsfield Community Television, giving you a look on the other side of the camera and showing you some of the operations and people and things that are required to make PCTV function and provide you the capabilities and facilities that you know and love for your public access programming. For today's show, I'm going to go as far behind the cameras as I can, and we're going to talk to and about the Pittsfield Community Television Board of Directors. Pittsfield Community Television, being a non-for-profit organization, has a board of directors that makes sure everything works smoothly. And who better to talk about that particular topic than our president of our board, Peter Marchetti. Peter, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So, to start off really at the most basic of questions, what is the PCTV Board of Directors and what is its function as far as PCTV's operation goes?
Well, I think the Board of Directors has many different facades that it needs to be looking at. I think number one, as with any board, is our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the funds are appropriated properly to make sure that the station runs to the best of its ability. Now, that can cause all kinds of interesting conversations as to what is the best of its ability, but I think what the board always takes to look at is that we are managing your TV station. And when I say you, I'm talking about all you folks at home that are watching and listening to us, because as a public access station, we are the board that is managing your own TV station. As a resident or an employee of a business in the city of Pittsfield, you have the capabilities of coming down to Pittsfield Community Television, paying a small membership fee, becoming a member, and having all of this wonderful equipment and capabilities at your hands, along with professional staff to train you and other volunteers to produce your own TV program. So I think that, you know, that's kind of we need to watch the money, but I think our biggest focus over the next couple of years is going to be outreach and making sure that the community understands that Pittsfield Community Television is your television station at 4 Federico Drive, and we have a board of 13 and a staff of 7, and I'm kind of skirting your question a little bit because I want to make it be all of us in this together to produce a great environment for the citizens of Pittsfield.
So if I'm getting the base of your answer, the sort of foundation of the board's role is that fiduciary responsibility, making sure the money is handled in a responsible manner.
You know, and I would think that that's our most important role. I think the second issue would be to make sure that we're serving our mission. And the board has the mission statement, and ironically enough, to make it very simple, and I know I'm not going to quote the mission statement exactly, but it's providing public access to the members of the community. I think that could sum up somewhat our mission statement pretty easily. And then we have the unique ability, being a 3-tiered TV station, or 3 different stations. We have the public access where you and me can sit here and create our own programming. And you know, there's a lot of folks in the community that have come and gone over the years that have produced some good quality program to educate the community about what's going on with either their organization or other organizations, or just the community in general. Then we have the educational channel that really is focused on the educational system and education in general. And then probably the most popular TV station at times is the governmental channel, because everybody wants to tune into, I know that everyone's tuning in to watch the Conservation Commission meetings every third Thursday to make sure that they know what's happening with the pollywogs. But in all seriousness, I think, and actually have sat on the other side of the aisle, I know a good number of people turn in on Tuesday evenings to watch what's happening in city government issues.
And it's wonderful to know that there's a group that is so invested in Pittsfield Community Television's success and making sure that the station is continuing to follow that mission of providing community access and making sure that people continue to have the services that they know and love, whether it's the programming on CityLink where they're seeing the meetings, the student and teacher generated content on ETV or the public generated content on Access Pittsfield. Now I know I've touched on this when I was speaking with our executive director, Bernard Valley, and and his assistant, Jody Cordana, when Backfocus first premiered. Mm-hmm. But I want to touch upon it again because since we're discussing matters of finance, where does the money come for Pittsfield Community Television? Is it from taxes? Is it something else?
The funding comes from a franchise agreement that I wish I could say I knew what the current status of the franchise agreement is. The franchise agreement that we are operating under has 7 years expired, but lucky for us, all the terms and conditions are still being met. And the funding is really coming from revenues raised from Time Warner Cable. So I know some people would say, in a sense, we're paying for our TV station, and to a certain extent, I think there's some truth to that. However, it's more so dealing with Time Warner Cable's revenues, and so if Time Warner Cable wasn't making money, the amount of money that we would receive here at Pittsfield Community Television would be different. So I know some people would want to make it a tax, and I guess it is a tax. But I would say it's a tax on the revenues that Time Warner Cable is generating, more so than a tax on the individual people that live in Pittsfield.
So it's based as a fee then?
A fee that is passed through to the city, and then the city...
But the people pay, so someone's got a Time Warner bill,
correct.
It's attached to the bill?
Well, it's attached into the bill in a roundabout way.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want people to go to their bill stack and start looking for the PCT franchise fee amount, because they're probably not really going to easily find that there. But
okay, they make it interesting on the paperwork then.
But I think that in general, the community is funding its own resource, and that's one of the things where we touched upon before about outreach is that. You're part of this institution, and it would be nice to get you here and involved in the institution, and really making sure that folks understand who the people are and what the benefits are. And I, as wearing many hats in the community, like many others, the work that Pittsfield Community Television does, both on a board and staff level, and I'm mirroring the lines between board and staff, because the board could sit in a meeting once a month and then attend various different subcommittees, but it's a team that really needs to make Pittsfield Community Television work. If the board sits here and quote-unquote barks orders to the executive director and staff, we're not going to have a very friendly environment, and we're really not going to accomplish the goals that were there. So although there are 13 of us that have the fiduciary responsibilities, and really the responsibility of setting final policy, the board doesn't do it alone. It does require some assistance from staff to be able to help in that decision-making process.
And that actually sets me up a little bit for a segue, because you brushed upon the various roles that the board plays in the organization and mentioned subcommittees and such. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. I would say PCT is a lot like any other nonprofit organization. We have a finance committee, so I haven't seen a nonprofit yet that doesn't have a finance committee, so that's kind of a boring conversation. We have a personnel committee, which, I think any nonprofit that has employees has some kind of personnel committee of sorts. We have a outreach committee, which is really being given a task to make sure that credit is given to those that are providing the work. For example, people sit home and watch city council meetings and various other governmental meetings. Who's providing that service to you? It's really staff and volunteers of Pittsfield Community Television that are providing that. You turn to channel 17 or 117-1, depending upon what type of TV that you have, and you're watching your child or your neighbor's child perform a concert or the spelling bee or some other kind of activity. And then public access, there's a lot of homemade programs from volunteer producers, but then again, Pittsfield Community Television, I think, goes above and beyond and carries other events that wouldn't normally be carried or people wouldn't be able to get to if they were shut out. And since I wear multiple hats, we'll talk 4th of July. Pittsfield Community Television puts out an all-press effort to make sure that those that can't make it out to the streets to watch the parade are seeing that. And so I think that outreach committee has really got a huge task in front of them to make sure that people understand when you turn the TV station, that folks realize who's responsible for what's happening. And I think that in my conversations with talking with people, you're out in the community and you see people and they go, hey, I just saw you on TV 5 minutes ago. I'm like, you did? Because I wasn't there. But Pittsfield Community Television has the opportunity of catching meetings or shows on a reappearance type, a re-show. And so people need to know who the people are that are responsible, and that's probably one of our biggest tasks. And then I think one of our favorite committees is our franchise committee that, we're looking to make sure that the franchise agreement is signed and that Pittsfield Community Television has another 10-year contract to ensure that this studio lives on for at least another decade.
Which would be fantastic. I noticed that as a staff member of Pittsfield Community Television, one of the committees that the staff is notably fond of, because it's our opportunity to upgrade our equipment and provide a better experience for our members, is the Equipment and Facilities Committee. And
you notice I left that one alone.
I think that one's a unique committee for Pittsfield Community Television because it's a place that the staff is able to provide recommendations for facilities that the members might best use for furthering that mission that you mentioned.
And ironically enough, that's probably one that torments board members the most. Because in my mind, and we go back to the fiduciary responsibilities, there are 3 resources that Pittsfield Community Television truly needs. One is a facility. Secondly is equipment. And thirdly is staff. How do you divide the resources that you have? Because contrary to what some people believe, there are limited resources to Pittsfield Community Television. And so when we're dealing with an equipment facilities conversation, we're looking to find out where we can get, quote unquote, the biggest bang for our buck. And I know that you've done a show prior that talks about the facilities here at Pittsfield Community Television. And that was a really long, engaged conversation of the board that says, how can we come up with a facility that will better serve the constituency that will come in here and use that facility? That decision to expand the physical plant had some tough decisions for some of us to make, because that probably meant one less camera that you could go out and buy. And so I purposely didn't talk about the equipment committee because, as you know, I'm probably the least liked person when it comes time to the equipment committee, because the equipment committee has and to their credit, a wish list of things that could make Pittsfield Community Television more improved. And it's a tough battle because, yes, we want all those things, but can we afford to have them?
The balance of getting the most usable and up-to-date and functioning and stable equipment, combined with the other concerns of the facility where our members are engaged in every day, and the people who teach them how to do what we do, make TV.
Right. And I think that the other part of that, and I know everybody that's sitting home and watching is saying, oh, I couldn't possibly go down to Pittsfield Community Television and be a part of a show. And ironically enough, I've been on the board since 1999, and I probably for the first 10 years, I avoided the other side of the camera. And I happened to show up at an event where we were shy a camera person. It was like, well, I'll give it my best shot, but don't really count on me to do much. And it's something that people, I think, have a fear of, but the complexity of running a camera, either for a taped or live show, is something that, honestly, the staff here at Pittsfield Community Television could teach a 6th grade class to be able to produce their own show. I mean, the equipment is large, it has some power to it, but basically, you could teach a 6th grade class, or maybe even a 3rd grade class, to be able to produce their own program. And to a certain extent, I think that's a compliment to the equipment that we have here, the staff that we have here, and the board for the foresight of being able to continue to move on. And just because we have this camera doesn't mean that we're not looking down the road for what the next process may be.
Now, as of this taping, Pittsfield Community Television is looking for board members. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And Pittsfield Community Television, to a certain degree, is always looking for potential candidates for board members, yes?
Yes. And, I think the flip side is one of the things that we as a board have also fallen short on is that for people that are not sure as to whether or not they are interested in being a board member, I think I have 2 things to express to them. And I think the first is come on down to a meeting. And our meetings are open to the public. They're always the first Tuesday of every month at 5:15 here in the studio. But then secondly, if you're not sure that you want to make the full commitment to being on the board, all the committees that we were speaking about, folks can join a committee, come on in and learn some information about Pittsfield Community Television to decide whether or not this is a place that they want to devote some time and resources to help along. But as we currently speak, we're down 2 board members. Now, anyone that would be interested in being a board member could really find us in a couple different ways. PittsfieldTV.org would allow the people the opportunity to gather some of the information that they need or to see. It's ironic sometimes when people want to be on the board, who else is on the board? Because who would I be working with? All that information is on our website. They could also call Pittsfield Community Television. I'm doing this off the top of my head. So 445-4234.
Dead on.
And they can ask for our executive director, Bernie Avalli, and he can gather them some information. We do have a little bit of requirements in order to be on the board. Number one, you have to be a member. So
okay.
You either have to be part of an organization that's already a member, or you'll have to invest a $15 membership. And a lot of people go, really, $15? I think $15 is pretty cheap to give you an opportunity to create your own TV series, or in some cases, just expand your knowledge. And some folks may see that their children may want a career in some type of journalism, and so maybe they want the family membership, and then they can bring their children down here to check things out, maybe get involved to a certain degree to help further their own education as where they want to go. And then we do need a resume from you, and we do need you to fill out a candidate statement that says you're interested in being on the board. For our 2 open seats, it's an appointment by the board at the moment, and they would be up for election to fill the term of the remaining seats that would be there. Our board terms are normally 3 years, so if you make the commitment, you're looking at a 3-year commitment. Time-wise, I think as the president, it depends upon the amount of time that you want to get involved. No, I'm not looking for someone who wants to come to the monthly board meeting and that's all they want to do. But the monthly board meeting and maybe 1 other committee or 2 other committees. So you're probably looking 2-3 hours a month of volunteer time. And that depends on what committee you're interested in, because some committees need to meet more often than others. But in our new strategic plan, all committees will be meeting on a quarterly basis so that we can, in my mind, get out of the funk that we're in, that things are going great, status quo, And so the board has really been making a concerted effort to shine, if you will, and we'll see how that goes. We're in the beginning process of that. We had 2 different strategic planning sessions to, try to change the face of who Pittsfield Community Television is. And they didn't have the best facilitator for both of those presentations. I tried to stumble through it myself to be able to lead us into a place. And again, I think that was our fiduciary responsibility because I did it for free. Whereas if we went to get someone from the public, it would have cost us some money. But I think we all knew the direction that we wanted to go in, so it was easier to do.
And as a staff member, I find a great deal of appreciation for your statement that it depends on how much someone wants to put into the organization. So I can point at a number of staff members, board members, excuse me, who put in a decent amount of work, do a fantastic job, and are focused on the board side. And then I can think of other board members who are so deeply involved in our functionality day to day that it's almost as if there's 2 that I'm thinking of particularly who do such a fantastic job that they're involved in programming an incredible amount.
Our next expansion needs to be like a place with some sofa beds so that some of the board members can take a nap in between. In fact, I think one of them has been here probably since 9 o'clock this morning, and this taping is taking place at 7:30 at night. So he's been here all day.
He was joking with me. He was shooting for the record of 8 shows in a day.
And we're pretty flexible, but again, if you're interested in being on a board, to just put your name to a board, that's something that I would suggest you think twice about. But there is no requirement that you have to film 7 shows a month if you're on the board. And in fact, probably for the first 10 years that I was on the board, I stayed completely away from all of the technical stuff because I was afraid that I would screw something up. But
and that's an important thing to touch on, is that you don't necessarily need to be passionate about the television production component. You can be passionate about the mission and wanting to help the organization, but you don't need to know, the front end of a camera from the back end of a camera to be able to contribute.
Well, and through my own experiences, and I always seem to show up at the wrong place at the wrong time. My very first day behind a camera was the sheriff's race a couple years ago, where we were short a camera person, and the only camera that was left was the camera that was 5 feet off the ground, shooting down. And well, of course, staff has a wonderful way of encouraging you to do things around here. And well, before you knew it, I was on top of the podium, shooting down, doing the debate. It turned out to be, hey, this is kind of something that is fun. And I've volunteered for the last couple of years for Christine Singer, who produces the Stockbridge Symphonia. So you get to pick and choose what you want to do. What's scary about it is, I think that if you get into this position and it's something you like, you may be spending a lot more hours here than you had originally intended. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it does 2 things. It does help produce the program that we need, and also helps you engage your own education as to what's taking place.
Coming to the end of the program, is there anything that I didn't ask you or didn't touch upon that you want to point out or emphasize for our viewers?
I think the biggest thing that I think we've touched about it in a little bit of ways, but Pittsfield Community Television is your television station, and we can use as many members as. There is no requirement to the number of members that we have. And so if you've been listening to any of the Backfocus shows and you have a desire to come down here and join as a member, take a trip down. I think I'll speak without even checking with anybody, but Bernie can kick me after this broadcast if I'm making a mistake. But if you're interested, come on down. I'm sure Bernie or another staff member will give you a tour of the facilities to show you exactly what we have here at Pittsfield Community Television. And after your brief visit, become a member. Give it a shot for a year. Find out what your membership can do for you. Find out what it can put before you, and give us a try. And then spread the word about what happens. And I think once people are here and they see some of the fantastic work that the staff does, they'll be sold on Pittsfield Community Television and the need for its future success.
And that is a fantastic way to wrap up our program. I've been speaking with Peter Marchetti, the president of PCTV's board of directors, talking about PCTV's board, what it does, and how the board works and makes PCTV the best organization for our members and for our public. Peter, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, sir.
I won't reiterate what Peter just touched upon, that if you're interested in making a show of your own, come on down to PCTV. All I'll say now is that it's on you. If you're interested, we would welcome you to come through the door, take a look around, and perhaps become a member of this fantastic organization. In the meantime, we hope you continue enjoying Pittsfield Community Television programming. And for Backfocus, this has been Matthew Tucker. Take care.